It's a fantastical love story versus a child's nightmarish imagination on Movie Feuds. I want to first start out by saying I'm not a cultured individual. If names of characters or actors are butchered on this episode, and believe me, they will be, that is not an insult on those said characters or actors. That's just merely a testament to my lack of knowledge and simpleton ways. Pan's Labyrinth invites us into Ophelia's two worlds, and oftentimes the real one is just as horrific as her fairy tale version. That's primarily because of her shitheel for a stepfather, Captain Vidal, played by Sergei Lopez. The only true friendship she has in the real world is from a servant girl named Mercedes. Her time with her own mother is limited due to the awful rule her dick of a stepdad has over them. To cope with her miserable existence, she conjures up a fairy tale world complete with flying creatures, a giant toad, a demonic monster that's doing scene wrong, and her main companion, a fawn. The latter two are played by the always terrific Doug Jones, who seems to be director Guillermo Del Toro's go-to guy, as he's also one of the main characters in Shape of the Water, playing that of the amphibian man. This creature shares a very similar aesthetic to that of Hellboy's Abe Sapien, who is also played by Jones. Jones is to fully make-up characters as Andy Serkis is to fully CG ones. Del Toro loves his villains, and Shape of the Water is no slouch in this department. Michael Shannon's my favorite part of this picture, whether he's hate-screwing his wife, shopping for a new car, chewing on cheap candy, or teaching women poor bathroom etiquette. He's always entertaining. Sally Hawkins has an infectious personality as Eliza. She's sharp, crafty, compassionate, and can sign one hell of a fuck you. She can't speak, but it's made very clear early on that that is not what defines her. She also feels very much alone in this 1960s setting. Outside of her kind neighbor Giles, played by Richard Jenkins, she has no real connection to anyone. Then there's Octavia Spencer, who's always a joy to watch, and I was very surprised when she showed up, as I didn't see any trailers going into this film. Highly recommend that. It's so much better. There are plenty more supporting characters on both sides, and we'll talk about them more in story. Coming at you now. There are many similarities between these two films that extend far past the director and even an actor or two. They are both period pieces set around historical wars. Labyrinth takes place during the fallout of the Civil War in a small Spanish town, while The Shape of the Water is set against the backdrop of the Cold War, circa 1962. The time periods are far more than window dressing as they play into the narrative quite deeply. Wasn't a pun, but I appreciate that I said it all the same. The way people behave, the way they treat each other, the technology, the jokes, it all works so well against those backdrops. The stories both revolve around a dreamy female that has bigger aspirations. They are princesses in another life, or world for that matter. They befriend or even fall in love with a strange creature that opens their mind to new possibilities. Or in Eliza's case, he's opening more than just her mind, if you catch my drift. Opening her legs. Sex. The Shape of Water is like Beauty and the Beast if it showed you the uncomfortable shit. And a special shout out to Sally Hawkins' rocking body. She's keeping it tight, and I appreciate that, and apparently so does the director, as he films her full body multiple times during the film. It's tastefully done, because there's ass shots. The biggest takeaway from both these flicks is they're somewhat interpretive. They play out like a dark fairy tale that can be taken at face value or as an escape for our protagonists. I really would like to think that Ophelia is sitting next to her father in her new world as a princess at the throne, looking out on her royal subjects. There are multiple subplots at play too, arguably more than needed in Shape of the Water. We get glimpses into the lives of not just Eliza, but that of Giles, Richard Strickland, Zelda, and Dr. Robert Hofstetter. Labyrinth stays a bit more focused between the two narratives. Ophelia's mission to seek eternal life with her father, and then the real world stuff with the battle and the resistance fighters. The film intertwines, this is me intertwining, the two stories perfectly, and it all wraps up in a very satisfying way. Shape of the Water does an amazing job balancing the multiple threads too, but the final moments of the film don't hit at the same level or beauty the former does. It does, however, look just as amazing, particularly the sculpted ass shots of the creature. There's no mistaking a Guillermo Del Toro picture. He's like what I imagined Tim Burton could have been had he not sold his soul to CGI. I'm positive there are plenty of instances in both films of computer-generated imagery, but it's so seamlessly done, it's hard to tell. The practical effects, the creatures, the settings, the outfits, the feelings each location evoke are just as powerful as the actors. It's a testament to the talented people working on the costumes, the makeup, the animatronics, everything else at play to make these creatures come to life, that I was able to focus 100% of my attention on the story and not get sidetracked with a fake looking prop or a character that just stood out of place. The music is also appropriately brilliant. It's really noticeable in pans for me since there are so many sequences of visuals taking center stage. On top of Shape of the Water's gentle yet powerful score by Alexander Desplat, there is a heavy nod to old pictures, primarily musicals sprinkled throughout. And this really shows through in a very take it or leave it scene later on when our two leads have a nice dance together. I did not care for this. I found it odd, and I understood its purpose being in the flick, and it makes sense, and I give it a pass because it's very short, like 30-second sequence, but I could have done without it, for sure. As much as it pains me that we're never going to get a Hellboy 3 from this talented group, I take great joy in the fact that they're making unique, brilliant, creative stories all the same. As much as I really enjoyed these films, especially Pan's Labyrinth, I can see how they could be a turnoff for some. They are bizarre, occasionally graphic, profoundly layered, and definitely unconventional from the more mainstream offerings. Then of course there's those that just say, Pan's Labyrinth's in subtitles? Fuck that shit. Hard pass. I get it. It's a movie. Why do you want to read? That's why you avoid books, to watch a movie, right? I really did enjoy Shape of the Water, but it didn't hit as hard for me as I thought it would. Might have something to do with the fact that it's a love story between a woman and a fish god. It was a little harder for me to wrap my head around. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment, vote for your winner, and remember, this is more than just reviews. This is Movie Feuds. Don't get me wrong, I too am waiting for my mermaid to make an appearance. My sexy, beautiful mermaid. I'm just hoping she's a little bit more human than a slimy, scaly creature. Oh, the slimy part could come into play. That could actually be very useful for penetration. You know what, I've said too much. I'm gonna walk away from this. Thanks for watching.